I can be arrested if you want.
Don't put your hands in my face.
I can be arrested if you want.
Put your hands in my face.
You may have seen this clip where a Christian brother was preaching in England and was arrested by the police.
What's your face?
You're putting your hands in my face.
You better even make your life to the Lord Jesus Christ.
What are you doing here?
I am preaching.
You're preaching. I'm going to require you to go away.
You can never.
Okay, then I will arrest you for a breach of peace. Plain and simple.
What breach of peace?
It's what you're doing at the moment. You're causing problems, you're disturbing people's days, and you're breaching their peace. Okay, so for that to be dealt with, if you won't go away voluntarily, we will have to arrest you.
I will not go away because I need to tell them the truth. Because Jesus is the only way, the truth. Jesus is the only way, the truth, and the life.
I appreciate
and
that.
Nobody.
But nobody wants to listen to that. They want you to go away.
Oh, you don't want to listen to that. You will listen when you are dead. You will listen when you are dead. You will listen. Take me. No. Don't take my Bible away. Don't take my Bible away. Don't take my Bible.
Gave you the simple option.
Don't take my Bible away.
No,
We're not taking it away.
Before that, sir.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Whatever you like, you can even do. Whatever you like. Where do you park?
Huh? We're not parked anywhere. We're going to go for a walk. Thank you.
Now, firstly, let me say, God bless this faithful brother for sharing the gospel. I admire his courage, and what happened reminded me of my open-air preaching back in New Zealand. I've been preaching open-air for probably about 45 years, and back in New Zealand I did so almost every day for 12 years, and I don't think I was ever harassed by the police. In fact, the opposite was the case. The chief superintendent of our city was a Christian, and day after day for many years he would sit during the lunch hour and listen to the preaching. So that was wonderful. When I came to the US, I did get stopped by a police officer when I was preaching on the beach at Waikiki. I was very respectful of the people. I said, folks, it's a dream for you to come to famous Waikiki and bask in the sun and in the surf, and it must be a nightmare to have a preacher stand up and preach to you, but I trust you'll be patient with me and just let me share for a few moments. And after about 10 minutes, the police officer approached me and he said, hey, I've had 8 complaints. I thought I'd better ask you to wind down. I guess the guy was a Christian. First thing I noticed about the US is the police officers had a gun, and that was different in New Zealand. Police officers in those times didn't carry guns, and so it set me on the right foot to show respect for the police because I really didn't want to be killed or thrown in prison. So if you're ever approached in the US by a police officer when you're open-air preaching, don't wave your hands in his face because he's been trained that it could be a distraction. You're going to stab him in the stomach as you wave your hand in his face. So he wants to get home to see his family. So just be very careful and don't preach at him. If you want to upset him, do that. But if you want to keep preaching and stay out of jail, just be swift to hear and slow to speak. Use a little discretion because the police officer is not the enemy. The Bible says that we wrestle not against flesh and blood. So don't treat him like an enemy. And if you're respectful and say, sir, can I help you? Am I doing something wrong? I want to, do that which is right. He may say, look, you're a very reasonable person. I don't see any problem here. Just carry on. That does happen. So when I'm approached by a police officer, I say something like this. If he says, I want you to move on, I say, absolutely, sir. Where would you suggest I could keep speaking? Is there another area I could go to? And I've often had them say, if you could just move down, say 50 yards down there, that would be much better. It would just stop people complaining. You see, many of these street preachers, and I'm not saying this guy is like this, but many of these street preachers aren't part of a local church. They're, like a little strange and obnoxious. They carry signs. They see the police as the enemy and they treat them as such. And that's one of the reasons I don't like being called a street preacher. I don't have a bullhorn and yell at people or carry signs. We gather a crowd and people are there of their own free will and they listen and they leave if they don't like it. So I hope this is helpful to those of you who really want to obey the Great Commission and preach the gospel to every creature and to stay out of jail.